Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meet the Moles. Before we get on to the main part of this, what I want to do is just check that everyone out there can hear us on the stream. So, can you hear us on Fantasy? Okay, so I'm sounding robotic, but in Wild Audio is bad. Okay. A very posh robot. No, I don't think it is. I think it may be there's just a lot of people on this stream. You can you can actually listen on YouTube where it will sound fine. Okay, so you can hear us on Fantasy. Can you hear us on Awesome? Can someone on Awesome tell me they can hear us? Thank you. What about Astound? Can you hear us on Astound? Okay. If people are having problems with sound, if people are having problems with the sound, I suggest you listen on YouTube. The sound is better on YouTube. Okay, if you can make me out, that would be, oh yes, on an external media player. We've got the address. If you need to hear better sound, you can get it through this address. Okay, right. Well, I'm giving people a second just to change streams to get something that they can hear. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the Meet the Moles talk, which is going to be the last of the Meet the Lindens and Moles sessions that we've been running here at SL17B. And I've got an awful lot of moles with me. So I'm not going to ask as many questions as I did last week on the previous shows. Zach, you were very good about giving me a feed with questions the other day. Could you do that again for me, please? Thanks. Thanks, Zach. That's brilliant. Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome all the moles. Welcome Patch. Welcome the loads of people who are out there who I imagine are all mole fans, one and all. Are you mole fans? Good. So what I'm going to do is, there's such a lot of you here, and some of you, most of you look distinctly unmole-like. So let's start with a very basic question. For those who may not know, what is a mole in Second Life? Who can answer that?
How about Abner?
Go for it, Abner.
getting called on first again. A mole is a independent contractor who works on contract with Linden Lab as a content creator or other uh, function within the lab to do official projects for Linden Lab. That's
So,
it in a nutshell.
so what I'd like to do is explore in a moment, explore the different things that people do as moles, because I guess we've got a fair cross section of people doing things here. But before that, I want to say that you've got some fantastic avatars here. Do you guys get a clothing budget when you become moles, or is this all your own work?
I could probably talk about that. I mean, over the years, when we first started in the LDPW, we had an avatar. And if you look at Quartz in the back row back there, Quartz is wearing the original mole avatar that we were given. It was a tiny. But over the years, we wanted to change our avatar a little bit, buy some things off of the marketplace or make our own individual avatars, unique. Give ourselves a unique identity with some creative input from ourselves or from other residents. And yes, moles are given a certain amount of Linden dollars that we can spend on certain things. Mostly it's for like texture uploads, mesh uploads, and other things like that. But yes, they do allow us to use some of those Linden dollars to outfit our avatar. To
That's
yeah.
that's very cool. Now, perhaps you could all introduce yourselves and say a little about what your mole work entails. Who would like to go first?
Well, since I'm talking, I could probably start with myself.
Go on.
I am Abner Mole. I have been a mole for 12 years. In fact, my 12th res day was just 2 days ago. So yeah, it coincides with the birthday. Yay! Um, I started out with the LDPW just doing the mainland roads and things back in the day, back in the old days before. I think it was even before Sculpties. Yeah, and over the years, I've done various things. I do a lot of the videos, like the Magellan videos, and of course the Punky video. I have the Punky outfit on. I've kind of adopted that as my sort of signature look. I also help with some of the project management that goes along because we have many, many, many projects. Recently, I've been kind of just doing just a little side project of cat herding, sort of just on the side. A little project you may have heard of called Linden Homes. Trying to manage that and keep it on track.
I think I've heard someone talking about that, yes.
Yeah,
A
they're
few
kind of
people
obscure.
mentioning it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what about Adora? Can I ask Adora to tell us
Can you
about
hear
her
me?
role?
You hear
Yes.
me? Oh, wonderful. So I am one of the moles that actually works on region expansion. So we decorate the regions where people will eventually move into. We put in all the trees and the flowers, the wonderful things that residents see where they go and live.
Alotta, what about you?
Well, I started with marketing, then I moved on to doing the Linden Homes. I still am in marketing, but now I do QA, and part of it is also going into the SLB. I've been part of it for 2 years, so yeah, I'm in many places at the same time.
So many of you have kind of multiple functions, do you? You sort of move between projects. I'll probably direct that question to Patch. And
Yeah,
then
a
I'll
lot
come
of
back.
a lot of them do. They're moles of many hats in a lot of cases.
Right. So, Ancient, I know you have mad dancing skills and you've been showing them off at the welcome area, but yes, you also do 3D modeling and whatever comes up. And today is your 7th Rose Day. Oh, congratulations. Everyone say Happy Rose Day to Ancient Mole. Right, moving on. Chronos, what about you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I joined in November last year, and I predominantly do content creation, but as Patch said, we all kind of dabble in different things. So I've been decorating a little bit recently, but yeah, predominantly content creation.
Right. And Garden. Garden, you've been around quite a while, haven't you? Garden Mole says she joined in 2008. And she began working on Second Life Highways, does a lot of landscaping, particle sound, scripting, and some building. Dabbler in many things. If you go and visit Molebills and click on them, you'll often see Garden's name come up.
Yeah, another place that you hear and see a lot of Garden's work is the special effects, like the audio and visual sprites and stuff like that, that you will find embedded all over Belisaria.
Aha. Right. So next one is glowing. Now, I think that Patch was saying earlier that you've been doing some awesome work with textures on the railways in Belisaria. So glowing, what about you? Glowing's a mesher mole mostly, works in Belisaria and on some special projects. Maybe we'll ask about those later. Grumpy Mole, what about you? What do you do? Grumpy decorates the Linden home regions, a lot of decorating, all day, every day. Mostly focused on the Stilt home regions right now, so a lot of digging and playing with sandcastles.
I kind of want to add a little thing like there. A lot of these moles are they'll say they decorate, and
Yeah.
that really doesn't put an emphasis on how much that they're doing. It really is more like, a better term would be environmental design, because it really is an entire environment that they're
Right.
creating for everything from all the plants and all the trees and all the way everything is laid out to the sounds and things that you may not even notice that they're really there until they're gone. But yeah, it truly is. It's a grand thing that they do, and to call it decorating seems like just a little bit of a, it's not quite the term I would use. Environmental what did I say? I'm brain fart now. Environmental design is really what I would call it.
Holoclock Henley has put it rather well. They turn plain stock Linden terrain into an immersive world.
Exactly.
Jessica Jane says agreed. It's not decor, it's creating an environment. Lovely. So we're moving on now to a new mole, Itza. So I understand you've just recently joined Itza.
Yes, that's correct. I did. I'm 2 days old.
Gosh, that's wonderful. Have you found anything to do yet? Are they keeping you busy already?
Yes, they do. Yes, and it's lots of fun. I work closely with Adora on the expansions, on the Linden Home expansions, and it's really lots of fun.
Fantastic. So now we'll go to Lulabelle Mole. What do you do, Lulabelle?
Hi, I'm Nada, and I'm going to be speaking for Lula because she's having microphone troubles. She is a environmental designer working with the expansion, and she does some of the best house fronts I have ever seen.
Right. So we come on to Magic Mole. Magic, what do you do? Magic says he's Ancient's mini-me and he does mesh content. And Ancient is grinning. Okay. So now we come on to Maximus. What do you do, Maximus?
Well, of late, I have been working with the SLB team, helping to get things going on. And once this is all put away and nice and kind, I will return to the inevitable expansion across Belisaria as we make more and more and more homes for people. And I will go back to working with Itza and with Adora. And I think it's also worth saying that the expansion team are the ones who did an awful lot of the decor that you see across the estate here. So
And
it's not just Belisaria.
People have been loving it. It's something I want to talk about a little later. So, Missy, coming to you now. What's your role?
Well, I do work on the Linden Homes, helping with that. Haven't actually done that for the last few months because I also have the great good fortune to do events for Belisaria and to help coordinate the Second Life birthday and more events. Oh, I'm trying to remember the Shop and Hop, coordinating the merchants for the Shop and Hop. So that is what I do. I do events and Linden Homes.
Adora, you said you want to say something?
I did. I wanted to talk about Max because beyond what he does there, he is also a major trickster. So we have little mole islands, and he has been tricking at my island and placing things all over the place. Just wanted to say, as moles, we also have an awful lot of fun.
That's great. So let's move on to Moonstruck Mole. What a gorgeous name.
And I will talk for her too. She does Linden Homes infrastructure, environmental design, and in general is a worker bee.
Fantastic. Nota, what do you do apart from speaking from Adora?
I started out in decor as an environmental designer, and earlier this year I moved on to QA so that I can help make sure that we set forth our best gifts and items of it that we can. And then I kind of slid into doing events and working on the birthday.
Aha. So, Quartz, what about you? What do you do?
And Missy again for Quartz. He is a scripter, and most of his time for the last couple of years has been spent on scripting for Belisaria, especially the communication system that keeps the house controller, mailboxes, the main region server, and the houses all talking to each other, and makes the right house res in the right place. So everybody who has a house that is on the ground and actually stays where your furniture goes, that's thanks to Quartz.
That is a very valuable job, yes. And I think Quartz, you're wearing an old, you're wearing one of the older moles, and you're quite an old mole, I think, aren't you? quartz keeps gravity running, says Eric Mondrian. Always a good thing to do. Not as old as Sam, says Quartz Family. He joined in 2013. Let's move on to Sergey Mole. Can you tell us what you do, Sergey? Or is it Sergal?
It's Sergey, but that's fine. I work in the decorating team, and I help the QA teams. I find and fix issues before stuff goes into QA. It helps them out. And that's about it.
It's very valuable work. Spiffy, what about you? Another great name, Spiffy. Spiffy says, I'm a content creator and mesher, and so far I've been involved in special projects aimed to enhance residents' experience. That sounds interesting. Can you give me an example, Spiffy? Or are you not able to? Gifts. Yes. Well, that is a very important one. Okay, and finally, Squeaky, who I've seen a lot of this week. Keeping
Yes, that
things
will
on
be
track
me.
here. Yes.
I'm 2 years old now. My rest day was yesterday. I mostly focus on quality assurance, also known as QA. I also deal with the mainland and the Second Life Railroad, including in Bellis area. And I do quite a bit of event coordination and then any other jobs that come my way.
Wonderful. So you seem a very varied team who do an awful lot of things. Patch, can you speak to that?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, a lot of people wear many different hats, and when we have projects come up, people help out where they can with what they can. Everyone has just a massive array of talents, and especially when you put them all together collaboratively. People one day might want to say, hey, I want to mesh this thing up and create this object or whatever the case may be and texture it, and another day maybe they want to go and actually be the person that puts those things out in the world, instead of creating them. So it's varied, and we have a lot of flexibility in that regard, and allowing people to kind of pick and choose what they maybe want to do or what they're most comfortable with at that particular moment. And we all work together from there.
That sounds very much like the philosophy of the lab back in the early days when people could follow heart projects.
We called it choose your own work. Yes.
That's great. So my next question is, how did you all become involved in Second Life, and what draws you to this platform creatively? And I'd rather than going around all of you, if people want to speak to this, perhaps they can say, I'd like to talk about this. Okay, so Lotta would like to say something.
Yeah, well, for me, Second Life came in a very amazing opportunity when it launched, and I got the opportunity to join because it was the creative place for me. I studied in real life arts, but my situation in real life with my country makes it really hard. So Second Life became that place that I could make everything that I wanted to be a reality. So very fast became something very important, and it just kept growing to a point that now is this, and now it means so many things at the same time. So it's very important.
Lotta, you said you'd like to say something.
Yes, I would. I started many, many years ago in Second Life. I started in 2006, and I started as a creator, and I loved it. And then I was away for years. And when I came back, I was kind of getting back into everything. Suddenly, Mesh is here, and then Belissaria happened, and I fell in love with Second Life all over again. And I was helping Patch with something last year, and we had a discussion about me becoming a mole, and here I am.
Fantastic. Abner, you'd like to say something?
Yeah.
Before he speaks, I'll just say they are telling me in the background they want to speak. I'm not kind of, turning to them and saying, you'd like to speak, wouldn't you? But they're coming to me. They're coming
Right.
to me.
Yeah,
Okay, Abner, go for
we're
it.
raising our hands. You're not just pointing at us,
Yeah.
I first joined back in like early 2006 when Second Life was kind of in its first initial heyday, and it was all over. Everybody was talking about it. And I was like, well, I'll try this, and it was a social platform. Is kind of how it was put to me. And I did a little bit of that, going, you meet people from all over the world, and you can type to each other. It was before voice at the time, but you could talk to each other and make friends and things, and that was all interesting. And then I found out that, okay, so everything is made by somebody. I mean, I can actually make stuff too, and that's when it really hit for me. Was like it still has that community aspect, that socialization, that getting to know people from all over the world and all different lifestyles and all different backgrounds, which is very eye opening and is a great thing. But it's also that creative ability, so you can create things and you can share them with people, and you can, well, of course, you can sell them with people. There's commerce and everything else, but that was really what it was for me. Was that that outlet for so much, your creative abilities and your social needs, and it's just been a great platform in both aspects. I believe.
Yes, it has. And I think a lot of people have found that. Anyone else like to say anything? Or shall we move on to our next question? Okay, I've got a message from Quartz who says, I became involved in Second Life in 2007, I think, and was completely knocked out by some of the builds I saw back then, Caledon and in Silico in particular, and rapidly became fascinated by the way people could make such amazing content, and also by the way they could bring it to life and make it interactive with scripts. So I had to learn how to do that, and I'm still doing it 13 years later. Ancient Mole says, I wanted to try the worst rated game in a list I found and laugh at it. That was 14 years ago. Well, you're laughing, but not at it, I suspect. And Garden Mole says, it was the first virtual world I'd ever seen when I wandered in back in 2004, and I decided I wanted to be a virtual gardener and landscaper. I then ended up working for this new team a few years later, which has been quite the fun journey. I love meeting diverse people. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to move on to Sergel says, I found SL through a friend on my guild in an MMO that I used to play. Yes, a lot of people seem to have come from other games like there and Mist back in the day. And okay, let's move on to the next question, which is, what are the moles working on this year? I'm guessing SL17B and Belissaria, but are there any other projects that you're working on at the moment?
Well, there's a handful of things that they're working on. Don't know how many of them we can really talk about, but you know, we of course the most visible, right? The two big ones so far have been Linden Homes and SL17B. Some of the other ones that I can call attention to are some of the various like gift projects and such that we work on for premium members. And we have actually a I'll tease this a little bit. We have a refresher for Halloween coming, which is probably going to be quite spectacular, I think, if we pull it off. And then we've got the end of year holidays as well. And we're already focused on thinking about all of that stuff. In the background, we have some other special projects that we're doing for some pretty big media events. One of those, of course, already has fairly and very publicly come to fruition, and that was the work we did for the Shivering Truth on Adult Swim. I've got a handful more opportunities like that potentially in the pipeline. And like we've got 4 more themes of Linden Homes after Stilt Homes that we're working on in parallel to everything. So we got a lot of stuff going on.
That's brilliant. That's amazing that you've got time to do it all. Eric Mondrian has just asked a question. He says he wonders, just out of personal curiosity, if any of the moles were part of the Palace community, a 2D virtual world community back in the day. Well, I can say I wasn't a part of it, but I wrote about it in my MA thesis on uses of interactive worlds. And that was a long time ago. Long time ago. Anyone were part of the Palace back in the day?
Card mentions that he remembers it. Moonstruck says briefly was more involved in Hotel Silicon and Dreamscape with Avatara.
Yeah. Garden says, I ran away. Right. So there are lots of things you're working on. What are you particularly excited about, would you say? Yes, the Mole Bureau.
Mole Bureau, yes. I think the biggest thing, right, was the preview for the Stilt Homes. The next theme also has us. Actually, the next 2 themes, I think, actually people are going to find. And here's another little tease nugget. They're going to be a bit of a departure from what you're used to seeing. So there you go. Make of it what you will. I'm sure it'll probably range from cardboard boxes to warp factor starships or something. The upcoming themes, I think, are probably the bigger the takeaway there. But then like I said, I think we're gonna have some fun with these things too. Especially, I think, like I said, for Halloween, as I mentioned before.
Well, we'll certainly be coming from Designing Worlds to see that, I think. So maybe we could have a sneak preview.
Maybe. We should probably put something together in time for that, for sure.
Yeah. Joe Yardley and I were discussing how we'd love to see some European homes, she says. Although, as Jo confessed, she'd never actually seen a Linden home, perhaps she wasn't as committed as I am to that idea. So let's move on. Can you tell us more about your work on the Linden homes? Are there, studying my nails here, any details or secrets that you can reveal that might be of some interest to the public? I promise we won't tell, will we, audience? We won't breathe a word if you let anything cats out of bags.
Yeah, I don't I don't think other than the fact that I just kind of you to death and dropped a pretty big hint about a departure from what you've been seeing is about as close as I think we're going to get.
Okay. Right. What about your work on SL17B? Can you tell me a bit about what it takes to put the birthday celebrations together each year? And I think maybe who would like to talk about this one?
Missy might probably be best for this.
Yes, I will jump in and I will start the conversation on this. There were 5 moles working on this predominantly this year. Squeaky was the leader, and myself and Alada and Nada, and within the last couple of weeks, Maximus came in, and everybody has been doing a great job on the birthday itself, but the planning actually started back in January. And we thought at that point we had plenty of time. And then, projects got in the way. COVID-19 happened, and that influenced a lot of what was going on in lives and in SL. And so that time kind of evaporated. But we were able to pull it all together with an incredible team of resident volunteers. So I really want to thank all of the people who have come out to help celebrate the birthday and make it what it is, from the volunteers to the coordinators, Leandra and Cordelia, who worked for months in advance getting all the performers signed up, to all the exhibitors who have done absolutely amazing exhibits. I think we have close to 200. And then we also have the Shop and Hop going on at the same time, and there are 200 merchants over there. So we really have a lot of people involved, and the number of visitors is astronomical. We have had audience participation here across all 3 stages that numbers usually 50 to 70 people at an event. So there are a lot of people involved in this event, and what we have decided is that January is not actually early enough. So next year, for next year, if we are lucky enough to do this again for another year, we are going to do a debrief within the next couple of weeks to kind of collect the things that we learned from this year. And then we're going to take like a day and a half for a break and then start in on planning for what we hope, fingers crossed, will be next year's birthday. And like I said, there was a team of us working on it. So I know that Alada and Nada and Max probably have stuff to say. Squeaky, I know, tends to like to stay in the background, but who knows, he might pop in here and give us something too.
Well, I would like to say that for sure there's a lot of planning behind the curtains from us, and a lot of craziness of just making sure that everything is as perfect as it can be, which is hard enough. But what really makes the difference in all of this is the help from all the residents that we got, because if it's not because of the performers, the exhibitors, and all the volunteers, it wouldn't be anything. Like, we can plan so much, but what really makes a huge difference in all of this is everybody that participates in it.
There seem to be more moles on stage here and encountered around Second Life than ever before. You run into them all the time. As I said, like animesh bunnies, they seem to be multiplying. Is the mole team expanding, Patch?
I expanded the team, right, from the actual perspective of we're going to go from 20 to almost now 30 today moles on the team as we have come through working on Linden Homes. At the moment, I don't have like an actual, number or anything in mind as far as how big the team should be. I feel like, we're operating in a fairly comfortable spot right now as far as everyone working on the team and doing the projects we're doing. And if I see a need or an occasion for where, we could potentially use some help with something that we're working on, or somebody approaches us who is particularly interesting and skill set to us, I talk to them. And that sometimes dictates what it is, we might bring on board for another mole.
Squeaky, I want to sort of move back a bit because I think you want to say something about SL17B and planning and what goes on.
Yeah, I actually found that this might also be a really good moment that I wanted to also give a big shout out to all the moles that have helped us on SLB, because as mentioned, Missy mentioned, we started getting a little bit close to the deadline with all the other projects going on, and everyone really jumped in to help each other out, and we knew we are a good team together. But I think it was just really impressive of how everyone just, everyone instantly knew what to do, and this is the result. And as far as I can see, everyone is happy, and same for the residents. It just all came together. I want to do a big shout out there.
That's great.
I have to agree. I mean, I started out, with helping with the birthday, kind of sitting back and seeing how everything was done. And then when it started getting down to the wire, suddenly I was just like, okay, this is what we got to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I just found my groove.
Would you recommend to your friends becoming a mole? Would you say to your friends, come and join us?
Yes. In fact, I've recommended it to my own spouse.
I actually can chime in a little bit. That's a lot of what we have, and I don't mean a lot of mole. A lot of what we have for folks who are on the team are actually referrals. Somebody knows somebody else who does great work in a particular area. Again, based on some needs that we have, and we may reach out to them and approach them and say, hey, so and so recommended and suggested that we come talk to you, and we reach out to them and start a conversation.
And go on, Chronos. Chronos has something to tell us. Except I think he's muted.
Oopsie. I'm good at that, sorry. I was actually at SLB last year, and I watched the Meet the Moles, and that day I decided to write up a note card and send it to Derek. And a couple of months later, I had an interview, and the rest is history. So, it's quite special to me being at Meet the Moles because it's, kind of where I started.
Oh, that's wonderful. And Adora says we were in the audience together. That's wonderful to be in the audience and then now be on the stage.
Lula was telling me that that's the same for her. She was in the audience. I think she was sitting really close to where my resident was sitting, actually. And after hearing Patch explain how to apply, she decided it was time to try and make her dream of working as a mole a reality. And next month, she will celebrate her first res day.
That's fantastic. So, people out there in the audience, if you would like to become a mole, just drop a note card to Patch.
Yeah, Patch, myself, Patch at lindenlab.com is actually maybe even a better way to send stuff in. Or Derek at lindenlab.com. Derek helps with the intake of folks applying to become a mole. My best suggestion is if you decide that you want to do that, send us a nice cover letter and maybe your CV or resume with it, along with a portfolio of your work, or tell us where we can see examples of your work and such that, kind of put your best foot forward, and we'll check you out and go from there.
Glowing is saying, I would absolutely recommend to be a mole. It's lots of fun and you learn a lot, but they must like to work hard and constantly improves your skills.
Yeah, one of the things I can comment there on what Glowing just said, as a matter of fact, is the team really, really prides itself on also kind of self-teaching. There is no bounds to the level of generosity that everyone on the team, I think, has in demonstrating, showing, teaching anyone else on the team who wants to know how to do something or desires to further their knowledge in a particular area. A lot of what the team can do is actually learn from one another, and I have actually seen the expansion of what people maybe came on originally to work with us for and move into other areas and take on new and different tasks and such that maybe they would not have done initially, like, and especially true with like mesh content creation. So it's been a beautiful thing to watch.
That's brilliant. Now I'm going to turn to questions we've been getting from the audience, and I'm starting with Nika Talaj Edman, who has a Belissaria question. She's saying, a little sadly, when will a team be returning to the Belly Log Home continent to complete it? There's a lot of SPE regions there. Is there an order in which they'll be completed? For example, border with Victorian regions, then rail line, then south coast, then inland.
Go for it, Abner.
Yeah. What happened there is, as we've already sort of hit upon, is SL17B became a priority as the deadline was growing closer. So the team that was working on those regions was called upon to jump in and help with the decoration and everything in this wonderful environment that they designed here. And we are, the answer is when, or the question is when, the answer is now. They have already started to go back to building in those areas and fleshing those regions out to the point where we can continue releasing what we have. And yeah, they're the if you go there, you can see how the rail line has been, at least up to a certain point, has already been laid out, and we are figuring out where the houses are going to go and how we can fit them all in and starting putting in the content. Yes, it is already, we are getting back on track with that.
That's fantastic. Now we have a question from YouTube from DJ, who says, when are you starting Second Life merchandise? You just have to make a mole in hard hat plushes. Obviously they would fly off the shelves.
That's actually something that we've contemplated internally, and I don't know. I think that that's probably something that well, I mean, if we're talking real life merchandise, marketing would probably get involved, and the other side of things for Second Life, we're always kind of doing little things like that where we make collectibles and such. So we'll see if there's a particular drive for a a certain item, like an actual mole hard hat plushie or something like that. We'll take it under consideration.
I've got a question now directly for you, Patch. And this is lamenting that you're being a mean boss to the moles because you won't let them stop Belissaria to build their theme park, Mole World. I think the residents would probably disagree with having a theme world over Belissaria.
That's actually kind of interesting. I mean, with all the other little side projects and parallel projects that we do for fun and stuff like that, we do still actually do some little things like that. Again, hint, hint, Halloween. So yeah, stay tuned.
Looking forward to Halloween. The question from Lucy Naga on YouTube. She asks, or he asks, do I need to know how to do environmental design beforehand, or can I learn when I start if I want to become a mole?
That is probably a good question that I can answer. And it really, when we look at being able to do an environmental design, what we look at is, because we have a lot of considerations when we're building these Linden Homes regions, is there's a lot of technical aspects and other parameters that we have to keep inside of, and we strive to make the Linden Homes regions somewhat uniform, but not the way I always describe it as, we don't want them to be identical, but we want them to be equal as much as we can. I mean, there's certain factors that we can't control, but we try to give it so that all of the homes have a somewhat equal appeal. Maybe they're not exactly the same, and you get people who, they want a specific thing, so they play the game of homes where they, abandon it and try for another one. But when it comes to what we look for in somebody who can decorate or environmental design, is we look for somebody who has an eye for the design. It's kind of like somebody who is just inherently good at framing photographs without a good example for me is Garden. Garden has a innate ability to put things together in a way that I look at it and I think that is beautiful. I can't get into the details of why it looks beautiful. He just has that knack. And that's kind of what we look for. And as far as teaching all of the parameters and the rules, the pieces can't be floating, and we want, X number of land impact, and you have limits with this, and don't put this too close to there, and don't put the rocks right on the region border because you'll cross the region and end up inside of the rock. Those are things that we can teach. It's the eye is what we look for. Is we look for somebody who has the ability to take individual pieces of content and arrange them in a way that is eye appealing, is what we really look for.
So that you would probably say that if people can build up a portfolio of work they've done, that they can show that.
Certainly.
Yeah. Now I have here a question from Holocluck Henley, which is troubling in terms of biodiversity in Second Life. And he said, Springhurst Gulf's little island in Belisaria used to be home to many hermit crabs. In fact, some of us called it Crab Island. Suddenly, one day they were gone. Will they return? Or was it a case of some environmental pollution that has killed them off?
Abner, did you let that nuclear waste get all the way up there?
I tried not to, but I had the booms out, and I was out there with a fan trying to blow it back the other way. But it just didn't.
It probably didn't help that Nada probably ate them all, but I knew there was a bunch of butter missing from the refrigerator.
Right.
My bad. I was hungry.
Yeah, several of them also are telling me that they had a crab leg party. Sorry, Holograk. I think that they all got gobbled. Could they come back? Do they have babies out there who may return?
You know what? I don't know. I think it may have just been a server glitch or something where they just disappeared. But I mean, I can go there and look, and if they're genuinely gone, I can probably put them back. Yes.
You never know what that nuclear radiation does to them.
Well,
yeah. Okay. So Another YouTube question from Mike B. Are the moles really connecting all the mainland continents by sailable water?
I don't know if it's every single one of them, but we're going to try to connect up some more as we keep working with Linden home regions in between the continents.
That's fantastic. Now, Claus Streeter Vendetta asks, are there any plans to extend the Second Life Railroad to the older areas of Belly, as was discussed in a previous talk, run them over existing roads if needs be?
That is something that's very difficult from a technical aspect, simply because when those regions were created, and I've delved into this a little bit before. Some people say that they would like to have Linden homes be double prim, or have a land impact that's doubled. It's like some of the other areas in Second Life are. And the difficulty with that is what we did was instead of using that land impact and giving it to the residents, we created the environment around the houses with that land impact, including the houses themselves. That's why
Right.
the Linden homes, the house itself doesn't count against your land impact. So
Yeah.
we were not able to do that. But what the other part of that is, we have to keep enough land impact on the parcel, the main parcel in the region, to support all of that stuff and all of the houses. And where the difficulty comes in is retrofitting that in an existing region where it may not have that land impact is extremely complicated, especially since we're working in a region that has already been released to residents.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it is technically highly improbable. To the point where we really have to look at, is it the best use of our abilities? I would love to be able to run the railroad all the way through, but the railroad is something that really almost has to be put in as the infrastructure in the region beforehand. Retrofitting it in an after the fact fashion gets very complicated and very messy very quickly.
I can see that, yes. A shame, but yeah. After all, you can't ask residents to give up 20 land impact each in order to have a train. They may object.
Yeah, it would be a case of we would actually have to remove some of the existing environmental content in order to make space for it.
I've got a Second Life birthday question now from Beth McBain. Interesting. Since next year, Second Life will be of age, 18, can we finally get an adult area of the celebration?
If you watched my opening speech or listened to it, there was a big clue in there.
Right. I will say no more then and move on swiftly to the next question, which is from Faye, who says, I notice there are trees in Belissaria that are high land impact. Is there any way to reduce that so users can then have more land impact to decorate their homes?
The answer to that is kind of twofold. One of the reason that they are high land impact is when they were created, we make things to a higher standard than a lot of people do, simply because there are tricks and things that residents sometimes do to fool the servers into giving it a low land impact that we do not do. We build things the right way, and we build things to a very robust level of detail as far as seeing it from a distance. If any of you have noticed, when you walk around, you'll be seeing something very beautiful, and you back off a little bit, and all of a sudden it turns into a pile of triangles. That is something that is made with very poor LODs at a distance. We make especially things that are going to be outside that you're going to see from a distance, like our trees, they have to be made to a level of detail that looks good from a distance. And that's why, along with the size of them, it gives them a higher land impact. As far as if we made them lower, could we then transfer that land impact to residents? The way the system works, it's not possible. It has to be done with the object bonus on the region, and I could get into all the details of that, but it's not, because land impact is directly tied to square meters of land. It's not really something that's mathematically possible.
Right. A question from CB Axel. Do moles ever patrol the roadways to check for plants that have moved from Primdrift or whatever? And I guess that applies to kind of mainland in general, not just Belissaria.
Yeah, when they have time to get out and about and wander and such, even I do it myself. I will go out, and the moles will go out and wander up and down the roads and just kind of check things out. It's more of a spot checking sort of random affair. We don't have like some systemic grid or something like that set up where we go through and do a full QA pass on a region or something like that. But yeah, I mean, when they're out and about and potentially doing a house call on something going wrong with a home, even while they're there, they might actually just take a look around the rest of the region to make sure everything's okay.
Is there a system for reporting things like that?
Yeah,
if people encounter Primdrift on the mainland in some area, not a resident area, but
yeah, if it's something with our content, a support ticket is usually one of the best ways to get something to us. If not, I don't want to open the floodgates and say just ping one of us, but sometimes we catch these things through like the group chats that we monitor for Belissaria citizens, but we can't always pay attention to them all the time. So sometimes I feel bad if we miss something. Then it hasn't been like officiated or really requested of us. So really the best way to probably bring something specific to our attention that needs repair is to file a support case, get it to the land ops team, and Derek and the team there will then bring it to us.
Going back to Belissaria and transport there, Evelyn Cowling is asking, can you add a monorail in Belissaria? It'd be great to have that there.
Please stand clear of the doors. No, okay, I spend too much time at Disney World. Well, again, so I mean, Abner just spoke about the complexities of trying to put in or retrofit something into the regions, and it being really difficult and challenging to do so. Could we do something somewhere where a monorail would fit in decor wise and such, maybe in a future expansion area? Sure, I'd love to. I love monorails, and it's something that we can certainly think about for something in the future, perhaps later down the road.
Good. Will there ever be commercial lands in Belissaria? That's a question.
I've talked about this before. And maybe a lot of people don't know, but one of the original intents when we did Victorian was to actually release Victorian commercial as well. And we decided to change focus based on feedback and everything. Like I said, I listen very closely to the community about their desires and wants and needs, and everything, and all the fibers of my body said we need more homes, right? More residential homes than we do commercial space or stores. And it was something that we decided to deprioritize out of the project. That little region, Millbank, for example, that sometimes comes up with interesting and strange things, is an example of actually one of the places that we were setting aside to potentially do something with like that. In fact, it was originally, and I'll just go ahead and I'll blow the secret now. It was supposed to be an open market area that would have some sort of like a rotational basis marketplace set up that store owners could, potentially leverage. Victorian commercial was, like you see in the real world where people take, in older towns and cities and convert Victorian homes into, 2-story affairs where maybe they've got their store on the first floor of the home and that's been converted into, that store or shop space. And then their apartment or their living quarters has gone upstairs, right, with like a stairway entrance on the back of the house or something that's, kind of hidden from street level view. And those were actually the models of homes that we had, in fact, set up and built. I think we had gotten up to 3, and I think we were working on 4 variants of those. But we just deprioritized it because everyone basically was saying houses, houses, houses. And we focused on doing a much bigger house release than a split release of homes and commercial or, residential and commercial spaces.
Next question. Now, I know the answer to this, but obviously some people out there still want to know. Will there be any updates to the old Linden homes?
No. I don't think spending time on actually updating the old Linden homes is a good use of our time at this particular moment. I would rather focus on us getting through the next several themes, and again, paying attention to the old themes that are there, and maybe paying a bit of homage to them as we do so going forward.
Right. That's another clue there, isn't there?
Might have been. TM.
Okay. Kai Hope asks, why can't you use abandoned lands or skyboxes for the Linden homes?
I could probably say it the way that the Linden homes are worked as far as how we have to set them up and register the parcel, get it into the system. I'm not sure that would really work in its present form for converting mainland regions to Linden homes, unless it was the entire region to Linden homes. And then that brings up the question, well, what do you do on the edges where it's like, you're on the mainland and all of a sudden, boom, you're in Linden homes. And it's see, I'm the kind of person, if you ask me, is a comet going to hit the earth tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. It might. The chances are, infinitesimal, but I'm not going to rule it out. So I'm going to say that, could that be done? Possibly, but the chance, the difficulties are extremely significant.
Yes, I felt you were straining not to say maybe.
Right. I'm trying not to say it because I don't want to get people's hopes up. I'm just trying to say that I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying that it's extremely unlikely. I mean, we can never rule it out. It's just something that would be a very tall mountain to climb. Not saying we're never going to climb it, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have actually spent a good bit of time thinking about
right
how we could potentially do it or ways we could potentially do it. And to Abner's point, we kind of keep hitting the brick wall, sort of like I jokingly said in chat. It's like, yeah, we could have this beautiful little pocket of Linden Homes, its own little area or community or something like that, right? Set up maybe if we've got enough open land space there that doesn't have any owners currently, that would be another issue to contend with. But then if there is a region within your view that, has, something like a city skyscraper set up or something next door, and I'm not sure that that's the best experience from a Linden home ownership perspective that you could have as a resident living in your log home amongst the skyscrapers, right?
Yeah,
I have a hard time conceptualizing that, and that's why we really haven't gone anywhere with it.
Right. Another factor is a lot of people go into the Bellis area because they enjoy the fact that they're in that community. Well, if you're on one of these little pockets,
Yes.
you're not connected to the community.
Yeah, it
You
would
know?
probably be a huge
Yeah.
disappointment for people if they signed up for a Linden home and then found they were cheek by jowl with quite
Right. So
old mainland builds. Yeah.
so I'm going to say it's not that it's a bad idea. I'm just going to say that there are a ton of factors that have to be taken into account when we consider these things.
So I have a question from Esmond Sharp. Will we see more public hangouts hub regions like Campwich and Rundlesham for other or already existing themes?
Oh yeah. We will continue as we expand thematically in different areas of Belisaria to put in more of those types of spaces. Yeah, we feel like that they play a kind of a critical anchoring part in, establishing the theme and giving the community a place to socialize and do things.
Someone has asked, how about underground stuff in future regions like caves, basements, subways, etc.? I have to say, remembering the trains don't run under Clockhaven in Babbage, which was a story, there can be deep, dark things there that you wouldn't want to tangle with. But go on, would someone like to tell us whether there could be underground regions?
Yeah, again, we're getting into the aspects of, there's a lot of technical considerations to take into account when you do that. Underground or underwater, people have floated the idea, no pun intended, of underwater homes. And the difficulties with that, the one thing you got to remember is the way Second Life is built. You have the terrain, and you can't put certain things under the terrain, and you would have to build a false terrain over top of it, which has its own considerations when it comes to things like physics and the physics engine and all of those that we have to try to work around. It adds a lot more parameters that that restrict what we're able to do. So underground it would be very difficult to the point where it's almost like if I was told you have to do that, I would be like, oh, I have no idea how we're going to do this. But yeah, these are all things that we have thought about. We've thought about, can we build basements in these houses? Is there a way that we can do it? One thing I always try to say is, residents will throw these ideas at us, and it's not like we've never thought about it in a lot of cases, and it's not like we dismiss them out of hand either. We investigate it, we think about it, we think very long and hard about certain suggestions or certain ideas, and sometimes we just come to the conclusion that that's something that we're going to keep in mind, but it's the pros and the cons. The cons kind of outweigh the pros right now, but it's not like we're never going to revisit it again if we can find a way to make it work.
And sometimes we even test it.
Yes, we do.
We try it. We'll put houses underwater and we try it, and
right.
We develop our pros and cons lists that way too.
A question from Daniel Voyager. Will there be any more airstrips created for the new continent?
Maybe. Okay. I'm going to say we hadn't thought about it. We've been so busy with everything else, we haven't really thought about it. But that's not to say that we can't, as far as like 10 seconds ago, say, yeah, maybe we should consider that and see if we can maybe find a place to do that.
Okay, and Eric Mondrian asks, I personally have always loved Second Life's mainland and the concept of it, and know many others who do. How would you respond, though, to people, especially outside of Second Life in other worlds, who think that a contiguous landmass like we have here is totally unnecessary or counterproductive? I have an answer for that. I'll let you guys say what you think. Yes. But yeah, I would say it seems to have worked for 17 years, that people actually like the sense of a map and the sense of space and contiguous space. But go on, if anyone else.
Yeah, I think that there's probably something in human nature that says connectivity means, you know, just that, right? You get more of a sense of inclusion, the sense of the ability to be able to explore and travel, and, you know, granted, in Second Life you're going to eventually hit the end of the map. You know, but you know, it gives you kind of this sense of, you know, maybe even the real world recreated virtually, in enough sense that you've got large expansive land masses and changing landscapes, differing areas of content and content types that, you know, just, I guess, fit our sensibilities in general for those of us who are human, maybe. I know not all of us are, but, you know, that's okay.
Yeah, I would kind of add to that that connectivity. You know, you get the sense of community, and that's really what happened in you know, 2006, 2007. And we had you know, everybody was on the mainland, and I'm gonna say, you know, if they're saying that having a continuous landmass is unnecessary, I kind of have to disagree, because that's what brings the all of Second Life into a community. You are part of something bigger than just yourself. On a lot of the mainland, I mean, people have different attitudes towards it. They have different feelings about it. Yes, you may get your little parcel of land or your island somewhere that's disconnected from everything, and you're happy just being within your own little environment. But I think at some point that gets old, and you want to make connections with other people. And for that, you kind of have to go out and explore and meet new people, and have people come into your, you know, just stumble across your home or your build or whatever and say hello. And I think just that random happenstance of I was walking along one day and I saw something really cool is a large part of that.
Zach Remix, who's been doing a fantastic job relaying all these questions to me so I could ask them, has a question of his own now. He says, I would like to know, what would be the most favourite Linden home for all the moles? So, shall I do this as a going round again? Or perhaps people would like to tap me if they want to talk about it.
Ask round robin, see what everybody's favorite is.
Okay, I'll do that. Abner, what's your favourite?
My favorite is one that hasn't been built yet.
Okay, thank you, Abner.
And that's all I can say.
The question is theme 7, 8, or 9.
I don't remember what number, but I know it's just one that hasn't been built yet.
Adora, what about you?
Okay, of all the existing ones, I am absolutely loving the log homes. They have just so much greenery around them. I love them, love them.
Okay, Alotta.
Well, I don't know. I worked in all of them, so I feel like each one has like a very special thing that I like from each. I would say that I liked a lot from the Victorians, how the fronts of them and how just it looks so full around. But I think each one has its own magic, and the fact that we work so hard and make them look different, and so everyone just each one has this different magic for me. Just cannot choose one.
Okay, Ancient. What about you? Okay, Ancient says, I won't choose. I made a handful of them myself, so I'm not choosing a favourite child.
Probably wise because the next thing he puts into QA might fail.
Would we do that?
Okay, so Chronos, what about you?
Ooh, there's one of the upcoming ones that I'm very excited about, but I'd have to say Log Homes, even though I've had mine for a while and it's not been decorated yet, so I might have to get someone to come decorate it for me.
I know a few people who can do that. Okay, Garden Mole. Log home so far, and a hint that may be one of the ones to come. This is getting really worrying. Glowing, what about you? I are saying of the existing ones, Victorian. Of all of them, one I can't talk about yet. Okay, or I could, but I would get killed. Okay. And Grumpy is saying the log homes. They seem to be very popular with the moles. Itza, what about you? What's your favourite?
Yeah, that's gonna be the log homes. I'm working on those now, and the greenery. Adora said basically everything. The greenery around them, it's just a joy.
Lulabelle, what about you?
Wow, that was freaky. She actually just told me her answer before you called on her. She says she loves them all, but she is always anxious for the next one coming out.
Okay. Magic, what about you? Magic is saying Victorian for him at the moment. Maximus?
Well, I've been looking at some of the stuff that's coming up, and I've got to admit, I am a huge fan of which they've been building on. Hang on, Patch, what have you done to my microphone? But I actually have a log home.
Okay. So, Moonstruck, what about you? Log homes, Moonstruck says, but very excited for the stilts, though. Well, yes, you can mention the stilts. Notta, what about you?
Oh, I'd have to go with the log homes. I mean, before I was even a mole, I was bugging Patch for a log home.
Right. Quartz, what about you? Quartz says, hard to say, they're probably Victorian of the existing ones. Sergal, what about you?
I'm gonna be the odd one out and say camping.
Oh, I'm high-fiving you. I love my trailer. Yeah, I have a lot of love for my trailer. Okay, Spiffy, what about you? What's your favourite? I'm going to ask you, Strawberry. I'm going to ask you. You're coming up in a bit. Spiffy loves them all, but has a soft spot for Victorian. Garden Mole says, poor old left out trad, but I do own a trad. Squeaky, what about you? What's your favourite? Squeaky says, as much as I love each and every design, the time we spend on quality assurance on Linden Homes, months. Once they're released, I don't want to see them again. I live in the quality QA vault. It's like builders who spend time working on their platforms and don't really get into the social life of Second Life and then come down and go like, wow, this is really cool. Yeah, I agree with Zara Beth. Seriously, you all do a fantastic job on them. And now I'm going to ask Strawberry. Go on, what's your favourite, Strawberry? I think she can actually talk to us, even though she's just here as a spirit. Going to talk, Strawberry?
She
Yes.
said it in local.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Strawberry says I'm a Florida girl, so of course, stilts. Yeah. Okay, let's see.
My favorite theme
Go on, Patch.
is theme 8.
Okay.
And we're all behind the scenes right here counting on our fingers real quick.
I can probably also say that that's the theme that most of them are referencing.
Right. Okay.
I do want to say I do love the trads. No one really give them any love, but I kind of live in them in real life.
Mm. It's interesting that none of you actually mentioned the houseboats, because those are still very popular, I believe, with residents.
I will say that I actually do. I had a houseboat for a while. I do enjoy it. I like the sailing in SL. So it I did like them. I do like them. Not did. I do like them. It's just something that's coming up is so much more exciting.
Okay, right. We're going to have to play 20 questions again, Patch, when the next theme is ready.
Sure.
That was fun. Okay. Hendrix Portal asks, will there ever be one 1024 camper parcels? I know it was suggested previously. It's my favorite terrain and landscaping.
I can probably, if you're okay with, the reason that the campers, well, I mean, we'd always had intended to make a 512. The purpose of the 512 was for people who already have land on the mainland. They still have the option, if they have 512 of tier, they can still get a Linden home. The other reason was the campers on a 1024, the size ratio, they seem out of place, and it makes the campers seem even tinier than they kind of are. What we did in that aspect was we built the log homes. We used a lot of the same content, added with some additional new content when we built the log homes. So yeah, I mean, if you love the decor and everything around the camping, the log homes is probably the place to go.
I've got a question for Patch, and this might be more of an engineering question, but do you think there might ever be a way for a viewer to see security orbs on the mini-map, the way we can see ban lines, to help people avoid them when out traveling?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, gosh, I'd have to think about how we could even accomplish it.
Eric suggests possibly via an update to how the Linden scripting language of orbs functions.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine anything we would even be able to or contemplate doing there would require figuring out some sort of a function, right? That could be hooked on to then say, hey, this device is obviously a security orb, right? And display it as X. Yeah, it's actually more of an Oz question, engineering development type question. I'll ask him. I'll bring it to him.
Okay, that sounds great. Anna Nova wants to know if you guys will bring back the weather in Belisaria. Could it be something permanent?
Oh gosh, I've heard, we've had this request actually quite a bit. The way we did that, of course, was all in jest and fun. You never know. Who knows? Maybe it'll pop back up again at some point. As far as something as a permanent fixture, I feel like the right way to actually tackle that is, through a proper rendering, viewer side sort of an engine, which we currently don't have today. There's a lot of complications too that come with it that would have to be figured out. Things like raycasting and stuff like that we actually do today, coming from light sources, and throwing shadows as they pass through, like divided light windows, for example, is kind of one of those challenges. Keeping something like raindrops or snowflakes or something of that nature from falling through the roof of your house, and identifying those surfaces, is going to be a whole new set of challenges to figure out, and the surface mapping and such to be identified with how the physics of those sorts of effects would be be handled. So it's a very, very deep topic. Lots of complexities involved. Not my department per se. I would love to see us have real weather and things like that. Maybe even earthquakes and UFOs. So that's a different game. But hey, you never know.
I'm wondering, just off the top of my head, I'm wondering if you could sort of simulate weather using EEP. If maybe that's a direction to take it.
Could be.
But
I was wondering if that might be easier than
not everyone
particles.
Not everyone has EEP. I mean, people who are not using. Yeah, quite.
Yeah, and while we're on that topic too, folks, if you aren't here in an EEP-enabled viewer, you are probably missing one of the most spectacular environments you could potentially experience Second Life in. Abner and Ancient and Missy and the entire team, they put a lot of work into creating even just the environmental effects that are present here in EEP, and they are stunning. You should see it. At least, if nothing else, go grab the official viewer with EEP in it and just come here and look at it at least once, if nothing else.
Okay. I think I'll just go with the photographs of it, but yeah, I'm longing for the day I can get a neat viewer with Firestorm.
Some of the moles have talked about this, because one thing I don't know if everybody knows, we as moles are required to use the official viewer for everything that we do. So we have, when new moles come in, they may have been using the Firestorm viewer for many, many years and haven't tried the official viewer in that many years. And a few of them have mentioned that they were surprised. They were genuinely surprised at the official viewer. It is not the official viewer you remember from 5 or 6 years ago at all. And pleasantly surprised. So I would say, all fire. I mean, I'm not knocking Firestorm at all. It is a great viewer. I use it myself. But flipping between the two, I will say, if you haven't tried the official viewer lately, give it a go. You might be surprised as well.
Okay. Oh, okay. Holocluck's given me a suggestion. Turn off high graphics. Okay.
Right, but the wind light is not the same thing.
Right.
In fact, it looks nothing like what the EAP environment looks like.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll all have to come back.
Yeah.
And have a look at it. Question. I think it's probably an Oz question from Dommy Cloud about the challenge of driving on Linden roads. I keep ending up in a ditch and stuck, then have to delete the vehicle and can't res a new one. Then have to delete my vehicle and can't res a new one. It needs small 16 square millimeter sandboxes along the road to res a new vehicle. What I was wondering, could some roads include markers and new vehicles include an autopilot, so you engage the autopilot and safely drive along the roads, pop up for upcoming turns. Gosh, that sounds very complicated.
Yes, it does. It sounds very complicated. As far as driving on the roads in Billis area, we try to test them as best we can as we're building these things out. But a major difficulty we have is there's such a variety of vehicles within Second Life that some run a little bit better than others. Some run much better than others, and some are like, I don't know how I'm even controlling this thing. Where am I? I have no idea. I'm in somebody's yard. As far as a system that could follow the roads, it would almost have to be something on the level of, you would have to map out where all the roads are and build it into some sort of a system within the car. I think is really the only way you're gonna make that happen. Unless it was something like, the way the SL Railroad works. But again, it gets very complicated when you go from something with a straight line that has switches here and now, and the scripts know what to do, to a road network that is just a web, or a web of turns everywhere. Yeah, I think the best thing I can say is, if you're driving along and your car goes off the road, you can always grab it in edit mode and move it back to where it was, or I don't know, try some different vehicles. See if maybe you find something that's a little bit better, a little bit newer, has features in it that lend itself to driving, or is just scripted in a way for, to be able to handle the curves, so to say.
I wouldn't mind adding something to it, though. As Abner said, we try to test as much as we can, and if there are certain vehicles that you have that clearly or have issues, I'm open to knowing what vehicles you use and such, and that is squeaky, because it helps us improve on our quality as well.
Yeah, we'll use those in our testing to see, okay, it works great for this car, but it might not for that one. Maybe we might want to change how the road is done, or the physics, or the layout, or try to make our roads fit. We try to make our roads fit what's being used in SL as much as we can, but we just have a hard time compensating for just the vast variety and spectrum of cars that are out there.
That's right. I have a question now from Lady Fee saying, when will new home stars go into our mailboxes? Since we won't have the stilts till winter, it would be nice having that to play with during summer. Thank you.
I don't know. I don't think we have a particular timeline on anything that we might do there. We do have a couple things cooking in the background with regards to, maybe some floor plan updates and such. but I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the team for those items to come up, at any particular point in time. That's it gets done when it gets done, and we'll put them in when we can. The bigger priorities for us are getting through the other themes and such, and then we can kind of start to wind back and go revisit other things and putting out more of other themes that we have released in the past. And maybe it comes with an update there. At some point we're going to have to release more traditional homes, and maybe we release a block of 5,000 of them, and with that maybe comes some floor plan updates.
I think the idea that Lady Fee was arguing was that maybe if you had some new themes, they could go into existing mailboxes. Like if you were doing some new traditional homes with new floor plans, they could be popped into, rather than having whole new regions. Existing residents could get oh, look, I can play with this. If that makes sense.
Right. Well, I understood it as new. Oh, you mean like new themes in the current resers? Well, we wouldn't mix themes.
Not new themes, but maybe new variants on the themes.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean by floor plans.
Great.
Yeah, like we currently have a set of traditional floor plans that are out there in the resers today, and we actually have a variant that's actually a more open floor plan, for example, of those traditional homes that we could put into the resers. And then you have 8 to choose from.
Yeah, I think that was the idea that she was suggesting. Now, an anonymous fan has asked what was going to be my last question. You've all been working so hard on SL17B. Have each of you had time to explore the exhibits? And if so, what was your favourite one? I'm not going to say what was your favourite one, but is there something you'd like people to go and see? Think people should go and see? So I'm going to do this as a round robin again, and I'm going to include everyone. So let's do this in reverse. Strawberry, what would you recommend? Yeah. Go on the roller coaster and be scared like Strawberry. Okay, Squeaky, what about you? It's called the Hurricane.
I actually haven't had much time, so I haven't really seen much. Yeah, I keep telling the team like we really need to look at the exhibits once this is like this, especially this week with the events going on. We need to look around and see how everything is going. Of course, we've seen stuff, going through things and the whole, working really. But I just, it's so hard to actually pay attention, just see what is going on until we just have some spare time.
Okay. Spiffy, what about you? Spiffy hasn't had time to visit either. Okay, Circle.
I actually did look around a little bit, but I can't really recall like what everything is. I haven't really looked that much, just a little bit here and there.
Okay. Quartz, what about you? Have you had time to tour? No, Quartz hasn't had time either. Hoping to go around with a friend this weekend. That sounds like a plan. Patch, what about you?
Shop and hop? Gosh.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's not fair. That's not really an exhibit. I too, I've only been through a few of the regions, kind of right off the welcome area, and I got to wander around there. I looked at some of the art installations and such. Right down in that area. Some of them are really, really good. The team's just been so busy this week. I think a lot of them might come back with some similar information. Even in the evenings and stuff like that, because it's already evening our time, right? Being East Coast. I haven't had a lot of time to even hop on my own and wander through the regions either. I only found a little bit of time in the middle of the week so far just to go do shop and hop, but yeah, I'm this weekend I am actually going to be here quite a bit. Because it's not like we have anything else to go do in real life. Spending some time within the exhibit regions themselves and such, looking around.
Excellent. Okay, so Nota, what about you?
My answer is actually really similar to Patch's. I haven't even had time to make it through the entire mall. I think I made it through like 5 regions. I have seen some of the exhibit regions in checking them as we were setting up and everything is so cool looking that I cannot wait to go through this weekend now that we've started to settle down a little bit and get in the groove and things are working. I might be able to take a breather and actually go around and look.
Okay, what a Moonstruck Mole, what about you? Moonstruck saying same as the rest. I haven't been able to see it, but I say go for a swim at the beach. That's
yes, please. Moon and I had a lot of fun there.
Something there. Okay, I'll definitely do that. Okay, so Maximus, what about you?
There are exhibits. Yes, I also have been running around somewhat, but I did today finally find time to get my passport stamped by the Belisarian bureaucracy. And the other one that I've seen and really noted so far has been Fiona Fay's exhibit, and I actually ran into her last night, and we managed to take a few minutes to stop and talk about it, and that was absolutely lovely. I mean, one of the great things about SLB is the fact that we all get to be fans of each other and admire each other's work.
Yes, that is wonderful. Okay, so Magic, what about you? Magic saying I've seen plenty of stages while working on them, but haven't yet been out, so I'll take suggestions of where to go. Okay, Lulabelle, what about you? Lulabelle says, I've been looking forward to spending time this weekend. I'm going to be shopping for sure, making a list from the suggestions that she's hearing now. Okay, so, Itza, what about you?
I think I agree with Maximus. Fiona Fay's is absolutely adorable, but I think if I really would have to choose, I would go with the exhibit from Have It Neox.
Yes, Habit always does something really good. I've seen Fiona's and it's wonderful. And yeah, I'll go and look at Habits. Also, someone was talking about an Aztec afterlife experience, and I thought I'd try and catch that as well. Grumpy, what about you? Grumpy says, I looked over some of the exhibits. I found a cool exhibit that had some waves and it made me want to go swimming. Another one, there was a bear digging through the garbage can, so I went running. Right, Glowing says, same as many of the others. It's been really very, very insanely busy. So waiting for this weekend to have time to enjoy finally the art exhibits. Garden, what about you? Not yet been. Hope to visit this weekend and listening out for places to start. I can tell you that, Grumpy, that the Designing World site hasn't got any bears, but we have got raccoons who've invaded a picnic area. So next is Chronos. What about you, Chronos? Have you got any places you're recommending?
Am I the only one who's actually explored all of SLB? So I've been riding up and down on my horse. Some of you have probably seen me. Some of you have probably been run over by me doing security. So I've kind of been all over the place. There's a few that I really like. Of course, the Teagle horses, because I love my horses. She did a beautiful display with different horses from around the world in the native tack, which is it's beautiful. And you can also rest them and ride them around. There's also something called an official mole hole there. I don't think it's official, and I wouldn't go down there, but that's quite funny. I do also love the dinosaurs. It's not an exhibit, but it's something we resed. And yeah, I'd recommend grabbing a horse and going have a look around.
That sounds good. I like traveling around like that. So, Ancient, what about you? Of course, you were lag testing. That's very important to do. Incidentally, you saw a lot of things, which is great. Ancient says, I actually visited a lot of exhibits while they were still building, and there's one with lots of floating glass shafts and text on it that I really like. Okay, that could be Fiona Vase. Alotta, what about you?
Well, I haven't had time to visit all of them, but I have around there, and I think it's been done a really good job with a variety of them. I think you get a really good example of the Second Life communities, and I'm not going to tell you which one is my favorite because the goal is that you go through all of them. I want you to see all the exhibits. So, no, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, so Adora, what about you? Have you done much?
No, I think Alada is absolutely right. So many people put in so much hard work, and this year it's just stunning. So I can't recommend a single one really. Really see them all, but like Max said, go and get your passport stamped at the Belisaria spot, and if you don't have your passport, they will have one there. And what you do from there is you collect stamps all over SL, and it is really a fun thing to do. So at least start there and get your stamp.
Right. So last but certainly not least, Abner, what about you?
Well, kind of like a lot of these have said, that it's hard to find time to really explore the exhibits because, we're here on our mole accounts. We are technically working. And even if we're here and we're not working, we end up working anyway. So it's kind of hard to pay attention to everything. But I think my funnest moment so far was on the first day hanging out. See, I have a Tyrannosaurus avatar with a lanyard that says Molosaurus and my little sun visor and everything on my dinosaur, and I hung out in the dinosaur area and then jumped out and started chasing residents around there. The dinosaur chasing them, boom, boom, boom. Hey, come on, find AFK residents and you just eat them and just having fun with the residents because that's really a big part of it. And then I went over to the free gift area and rode the merry-go-round as a dinosaur. Yeah.
Yes, that was a lot of fun. I was laughing the whole evening.
Yes, you were.
I even like my husband's like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "Come here, watch this."
It was the point where Abner's head was hanging out to the side like a dog coming out of the window.
Right.
He looked so happy.
Yeah, he did look happy though.
I'm trying to eat people as it's going around in a circle. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yes.
were encouraging people to come into range, and for some reason they weren't quite going for it.
No, they weren't. They were like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna stay over here.
Yeah,
That's
watch
all
from
right.
afar.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's perfectly safe. Really, really. He just wants to be friends.
He's a friendly dinosaur.
Yeah.
I
It's
love
just
you.
taken a
You love me.
chunk.
No, not that one.
Well, we've been here nearly 2 hours now talking, and I think maybe we should wrap up, because before the audience all become exhausted, I think they've stayed awake and very excited and taking a great part in this as well. It's been wonderful talking to you all. I always love the mole event. So thank you for coming and being so enthusiastic, and thank you for Patch for joining us too. It's been great, and thank you to our wonderful audience for joining us as well. This is the very last of the Meet the Linden talks, so it's the end for another year, sadly. It's been a great season, I think, and thank you very much, all of you.